welcome back, everybody. We glad that you guys are still following us. It's good to see you. It's Jeans and Gems. Me and Nat is Keash, aka Snacks, aka Kenshi. We're very happy to see you here. I'm glad you guys are still following us, Jeans and Gems. Make sure you click the link, subscribe, and continue to follow us here as well as our other platform. I'm gonna intro in my best friend, Natty Girl. Take it away, Natty.
Hey everyone, this is Natalie, aka Natty Girl, back in the building. Jeans and Gems is we're rolling strong, and one thing we're not short on is having legends in the building, and today is no exception. Super excited and honored to be joined by our guest today. You know him from the legendary group Stetsasonic. He's a rapper, artist, producer, all things hip hop, and so we're super excited once again to have to be joined today by Daddy O, Professor Daddy O, Stetsasonic.
Thanks for
And
having
that's
me.
where we put in applause.
Yeah, I wanna correct Keisha. She's more than a snack, but go ahead.
Well, it's snacks. It's snacks it's a whole. We
Oh,
should
okay.
probably talk about one day how we got these
Ooh,
aliases.
that's gonna be
Yeah, that'll be
crazy.
nice.
But we are certainly happy to have you on. How have you been?
I've been good. I'm blessed. Been having some good weather. Places I've been going. It's nice in Houston. I'm in Florida now. It's nice, so it's good. I've been good. I've been
Awesome.
good. Stet got a new record out. This Fallen Soldiers record is doing really well. We just getting added all over the place, so I'm happy with that. Just had a great conversation with my team today. We're actually doing the second part of Self-Destruction, which is called, we call it
Wow.
Stop Self-Destruction. We was going to call it Self-Destruction 2, but we actually calling it Stop Self-Destruction. I had a great meeting with my team today on that. So yeah, it's good. And then, I put out records probably every 4 months. I put out an album. So,
Nice.
That's lovely. I want to talk about that Fallen Soldiers because it is one thing when I saw the visuals, hearing the record, seeing the visuals, I checked it out. And if you guys haven't checked it out yet, please go and do so. It's a lot because you know what it is. I didn't realize how many people we had lost in hip hop.
and so how
I
many
knew
people
it.
we didn't
Technically.
mention? It was like
Oh,
people
Yeah,
after the
that
record was
that's
done,
that
people
new
that.
calling me
video.
like, yo, you didn't say so and so. You didn't talk about, and I'm like, you know what I
Wow.
mean? Like we tried to get as much in as we possibly could, but it's a lot. It's a lot.
It is a lot, and
Um,
it was deep. It was really touching. I definitely appreciate and these are people that can't be forgotten. Not only pioneers, but there's a part of the song where you guys talk like a recent up to takeoff, and it was just
Yes.
like,
the
ooh,
XXXTentacion, I was just like, wow. And it's like watching that video had us both like, yo, word,
Yeah.
like,
Every
remember
time I
him, Big
listen to
L?
Wise
Wow,
verse, I
like,
get tears.
really?
yeah, it
Wow.
definitely does that. It definitely
Yeah.
is emotional, and it's like one of the lyrics, I think it points to the senseless
Mm.
Yes.
ones that, because none of us are invincible. It's gonna be that day, right? But the
Right.
Right.
senseless violence, and that, of course, I guess just leads back to this project. So I'm so happy the no more self destruction. No, so I like that a lot. We need it.
Definitely necessary in this climate. So
We're working on it. We definitely, I think that's my job in life. So I've taken it on.
More power to you. We appreciate you for it.
yes.
I guess one of the lead-in questions before we talk about some of the other things is what garnered your interest to sort of learn more about your history and ancestry.
Well, me and you talked a couple of years ago about doing this, and then I
Yes.
kind of fell off the face of the planet on that side, right? So I
Nice.
kind of fell off the face of the planet. But I mean, a lot because one, I only met my dad before the day before my 18th birthday,
Mm.
right? So I know nothing about my father.
Wow.
I met him a day before my 18th birthday. I probably had a relationship with him for like a year after that. Then I got a
Wow.
little salty because the wife told me not to call the house no more.
Oh,
Mm.
You
wow.
know what I mean? So I got salty, and then I know I had brothers and sisters because he told me that he had children, and
Yes.
I was mad excited. And then the other side is that I never really got a chance to talk to my mom before she passed about stuff. And then the my sister, who was my older sister, passed a couple of years ago. She had all the information, and then I'm not really sure like where that info is. So,
Wow.
but you all,
That
I
Well,
always wanted to
was.
know.
well, we're super excited. We have so much to share with you,
Gonna find
but
out today.
exactly, and it'll be stuff that you won't be able, you won't have to look for because you'll have it
Thank you.
at your fingertips. So
Thank
we're
you.
excited to be able to fill in those blanks. But what I would love for you to do is, and I know we talked about this a little bit before off camera, and Keisha, this story is, it's funny because it's not as unique. It's actually very similar to stories I've heard before, but I'd love for you to tell us, Daddy-O, how you came about, knowing your biological father and what you knew before, and then how you did come about actually meeting him.
So my mother never wanted me. I don't know why, but my mother never wanted me to meet my dad. So she would tell
Mm.
me some things about him, but not a lot. And I would ask, can I meet him? She would not let me meet my dad. So
Wow.
the interesting thing for me, like it's kind of crazy, is that I learned about my dad and hip hop on the same day.
Oh,
Isn't that
Right?
wow.
something?
So I'm sitting on a stoop, I'm playing music. This guy comes up and he asks me, did I ever, hear hip hop? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So he gives me he gives me a tape of Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. And like I say all the time, there was two different type of tapes back in the day. There was one tape that was the most popular ones, which was a condenser mic that somebody would probably take a box, sit it next to the speaker, and record the whole show. And then there was the other ones that we used to, the priceless ones. He had one of the priceless ones, was the practice tapes. Those
Nice.
were
Mm.
clean, no audience, right? But clean routines, clean DJing, because it was directly into the set. He had one of
Right.
those.
Wow.
And I heard Melly Mel, one for the treble, two for the
Hey.
Two
bass.
folks.
Come on, Flash, let's rock.
Rock this. Mhm. Nice.
Yes, y'all to the beat, y'all. And I was like,
Hey.
what was that?
Yeah.
And so
Right.
I fell in love with it. After hanging out with the guy, one day the guy looks at me and says, "You look just like this man."
Wow.
Wow.
And I was like, he said, "Yo, I'm gonna take you to him." And he took me to him. It was my dad.
Wow.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And how far did he live from y'all? Like what was
I
your
don't even know
proximity?
where that boy used to live. That boy used to just come around like when we used to be outside. Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know where he lived. I never went to his house or nothing. You know what I mean?
No, but what about your father? How far was he?
Oh,
How far were y'all from each other?
it was, I don't know where my father was living, but I was living
Yeah.
in Bushwick at the time, and he was working at a market on Humboldt, which actually was walking distance from where I was living.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's stories like that again had intrigued me since I was much younger. I met my sister for the first time when I was 16 years old. Had been riding the bus with my nephew,
Wow.
who was only a couple years younger than
Wow.
me, and it's just we should know our people, and so just hoping that this actually fills in some of those gaps for you. So
Beautiful,
we're really
beautiful.
excited. Well, with that, I think we can roll
Jump
right
right
in.
in.
What I want to do is
Darling.
share my screen because we tested all this out before
Yes.
to make sure it works. So,
I see it.
Yeah.
so this sir is Mr. William Staker Miller Sr. He is your
Great, right?
indeed,
Hmm.
and so Mr. William Staker Miller Sr. was born in Jamaica. Around 1867. When I say that, this is the clean condensed version, but when you look at some records, they'll show 1864, 1866,
Right.
and that's typical because back then, I mean, these were handwritten records, and you'll be amazed some of the stuff that we were able to retrieve. But he was born in Jamaica, and his parents were John C. Miller and Mary Ann Buckley, and so how we were able to find those names was actually on his death certificate.
Wow.
At this time, we are just scratching the surface on John Miller and Mary Ann Buckley. But as of this morning, I was able to find Mary Ann's mother, and her name is Mary Valentine, also born in Jamaica, approximately the early 1820s, if I'm correct. But
Wow.
super excited. Did you know that you met your father, you spoke to him, but did you know that you had Jamaican roots?
No, my father is from,
Wow.
I know he's Panamanian, so my father speaks Spanish and everything. You know what I mean? So, and my mother even told me that my dad was Panamanian.
Right. So you knew that,
So I knew
but never Jamaican.
I never knew anything about Jamaica at all.
Oh,
Well,
well, that's
But as even now, and growing up, people always say, "Are you Jamaican? Are you
and
Jamaican?"
now
sure.
Like people
yes,
always have asked me, "Am I Jamaican?"
Yeah.
And
yes.
some of my best friends are Jamaican, and I love them. Like like those are my
Let's
my
not talk about the food. Like, don't forget the food now.
yeah,
We can't
Yes,
have.
right?
exactly. Yeah, that's crazy. When I tell my man Relly this, he gonna lose his mind.
He
Oh
gonna be like,
yeah.
I told you.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell
I
you,
told
man.
you.
And it's deep. Like I said, to find Mary Valentine, who was this man's or your great. Don't get me with the greats because I
Right,
start
right.
tripping. But
Hmm.
I mean, we're talking about early 1840s, and
Wow.
Jamaica kept pretty good records. So I have a feeling we're going to
Right.
be able to dig up some more. But as of today, here's a picture of Mr. William Staker Miller Sr. And I got to say his
Wow.
whole name because this is so regal.
Yeah.
But he first appears on documents in 1898 where he volunteered to be a part of the Spanish American War.
Wow.
And he was a cook. He was a cook in the U.S. Army. And he spent the time, he saw action in the war, and he actually, as a cook, was recruited to go and help build the Panama Canal.
Wow.
So that is how they ended up in Panama.
Wow.
Yeah, right?
Crazy. I'm about to start crying over here, but go ahead.
Oh
Oh
wow.
man, I mean, this is it is really emotional and sentimental to think, just yesterday, right? You didn't have you weren't armed with this knowledge to say
Yeah.
that your family, your forefathers were part of building the Panama Canal, like
Yeah,
a
that's
real
major.
foundational
That's
part of
major.
this,
That's major,
right?
major.
Yeah.
So that's how they got. So that's how my daddy got to Panama.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so, because right before they had moved to Panama, the family was actually living in Missouri. He signed up. He signed up to be in the army, and after it was either Kansas City, Missouri, or he was in Kansas. But that's where he had, they had relocated from Jamaica. There was no Panama in the picture at that point. So then, after he served in the army, there was this opportunity. The U.S. had said, I think in 1910, there were maybe a few hundred Americans, West Indians at the time, in Panama, and then like the following couple of years, there were 4,000. So the community started to build. They had schools and libraries. I mean, this was a huge project. So
Wow.
when you read about the Panama Canal and how it started and the people who were there, you will be proud to say that your family was one of the first.
Wow.
Yeah.
The first few. So in Panama, he was living with his family. So and they lived there for more than a decade. He was married to a woman named Caroline Johnson, who was actually born in Trinidad. So you're Trinidadian too.
So you're also Trinidadian.
Wow. That's crazy. That's
Your roots
nuts.
run deep.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yes.
Oh, it gets
So when
better.
they ask you if you're West Indian,
I mean, you know
It's
what's so
true to the
crazy?
blood.
So here's the ill part, right? Let me tell you something that's ill. The day I met the dude that introduced me to my father, I was playing reggae on my box.
Isn't that?
it was embedded in your DNA.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Seriously. Wow. Well, so Caroline Johnson, again, we're just scratching the surface. She was born in Trinidad, and I got what I call like the jackpot when I go through some of my census records, and it shows that in-laws were living with families. That opens up a whole nother line, because I would have probably not been able to find anything about Caroline's parents, maybe on her death certificate. But what was so sweet about this find is that Amelia Briscoe, her mother, was actually living with the family in Panama, and she lived with them until she passed away. So, they were a pretty large family. The children that William and Caroline had together were William Jr., Herbert, Edgar, Philip, Frederick, and Alexandra. So Edgar and Philip were twins. William,
Twins.
and the reason why it's highlighted is because William is actually where you descend from, William Jr.,
Right.
who was the oldest. So after spending time in Panama, building the community, raising children, and after the project was over, we don't know why, but he did move back to New York City in 1932 with the family.
Wow.
When I say that we have the actual dossier and the register of him and his wife and children as passengers on a ship called the SS Ancon. You can actually see the ship. You could go to Ellis Island.
Wow.
Yes, you can go to Ellis Island and see your family's name on the list too when they came back to America in 1932.
Wow.
It's gonna get better. You saying wow?
I told him I was excited. I was excited.
It gets better.
So William passed away in 1942. Mm-hmm. If we go back, or we'll go ahead, there's pictures. I love pictures.
Actual pictures. You know, we love pictures.
Yeah.
So these are descendants from your family, your ancestral DNA. So it's actually like Nat was able to pull out the picture so you can actually visibly see, you know, different characteristics, certain things, like, you know, as far as like when you're looking, like, you know, oh, this like my cousin, like he looks like my cousin, like my brother.
No,
oh wow, like
when she sent me that, when she sent me that picture of my pops, I was like, yo,
that's you. So in this pictured here is this is a rare find. I don't see things like this all the time, but you see Amelia Briscoe, born in 1859. So that was William Staker, Amelia,
mother.
That was his mother-in-law who lived with him at the time.
Oh, okay. So that's what you meant by the in-laws living with them.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. And it just opens up because, again, with the documents especially from the 1800s, they weren't always super efficient. And so, I mean, besides misspellings, you know, even on certain death certificates, they would put the woman's married name and not her maiden name. So it's really hard to identify who her people were. Right. And so it's always stopped short. So this was a gem, another gem, literally. Also pictured here are William's wife, Caroline, you'll see in the lower left-hand corner, and their children, Herbert, Edgar, and Philip are the twins, Frederick, and Alexandra. So who's missing other than your William? But we'll get to that because
it's coming up.
He's coming. But I just wanted to share some more photos here. Up in the upper left-hand corner, that's actually Cristobal. They called it CZ, which would stand for Canal Zone or Civilian Zone in Panama. And so this is just, and I have more photos to share, but just to give you an idea of how the town they built started to look. Right here in the center is actually William and Caroline.
Oh, wow.
That's them in the middle. To the upper right-hand corner, that's the ship, the SS Ancon, that they came in on 1932. That's the actual ship.
Nice.
And then pictures on either corner are both of William. This says a lot to me. Just, you know, I do a lot of this research. Coming across photographs of non-white people before the 1900s is few and far between. It's rare.
Yes,
so the fact that this family has so many photographs, you know, they were well-to-do. They were in a very good position, well-traveled, very early.
Yes,
you know. So just love sharing that. We want to go.
And then you come from a line of family that kept the legacy alive because you know these pictures they're put into certain databases so that you'll never forget.
Right.
The Miller family.
We were talking earlier about how somebody has physical pictures on their person and they pass away or something happens to the house, or blood, whatever.
Yeah. Like the pictures that I don't know where those pictures my sister got. You're right. They get lost.
Right. They do. Love this one. This is William Staker Miller Jr. So this was their firstborn, and he was sharp. I mean, first of all, can you just take a minute to look at his
top right corner?
I know, that's crazy.
Sir, I mean,
man, listen.
But I see where I get it from now.
Play no games.
Yeah.
Okay. So the upper right-hand picture, the one that's in color, he was actually in London. So again, a well-traveled person, and as we go through his profile, you'll understand and how he had that ability. But my picture, I love this one on the left.
I love it. I don't know if love it.
He got the little jewels out.
Yeah,
he got
the ring.
Sharp.
The bracelet.
That's crazy.
Sharp.
That suit, you see that lapel, you see Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was
Japa.
born and raised in Panama, as we previously mentioned. He was actually a merchant marine. And on top of that, he was in the U.S. Navy and the World War II vet. So he saw action as well. So it
Played
seemed
no games.
so there's a theme here. I think William Staker Sr. obviously set the tone, you
Right.
know, volunteering to go to the Spanish-American War, and then the opportunities that were afforded to him and his family because of that. I see a trend here. So
Right.
obviously, and William, he's not the only one. There's several. If we go back to the other shots, you saw that one of the twins had on his Navy uniform. It's a big military family. So he worked on the steamships for years. After the war, he moved to New York City. He worked as a cook at the New Yorker Hotel, which was a pretty,
Prestigious
high.
hotel.
Well-to-do,
yeah.
high prestige. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. He danced at the Savoy Ballroom. He loved music and big bands. And I'll tell you how we got some of this information in a minute. It's really exciting. He had a child. He had 3 children. His first child was George Martin Miller, which I know rings some bells for
Yes.
you.
Yes.
So George's mother was a woman by the name of Beatrice Martin, who was actually a Panamanian resident at this time. And not to say that it's closed, but we didn't get too much more info on Beatrice. Beatrice and William never married, but they did have their first child together, who was George.
Right.
So William had his first wife. Her name was Doris Forbes, and he had his first daughter, whose name was Dolores Miller. And then he married his second wife was Norma Carter, and they had a son named Juan. They were all living in Brooklyn in the 1950s, and then right about into the late 60s, they wanted to move to Panama, and then they drove. And the wife was like, yeah, I don't want to live here. I don't speak Spanish. So Norma was like, yeah, nah, we're not going to Panama. But
We out.
Wow.
William tried to go back. But they ended up settling in San Diego in the late 60s. And he lived there until his wife, Norma, passed away. And he relocated to New York in 1991.
Wow.
So, yeah, lots of movement, lots of travel. This next picture is actually it's application to become a merchant marine and be a seaman.
Oh, nice.
So I mean, right?
Oh,
so
yeah,
this is his actual fingerprint. This is his actual signature.
Wow.
Nice.
Yes.
Really nice penmanship.
Yeah, and that was 1936 where he applied for this to be a seaman, and he had to submit a picture. So. Getting hands on these documents is not usually easy. So I was really excited to be able to bring these. But this is my favorite.
Oh, man.
So your grandfather, right? Because this is George's dad, was featured in the New York Daily News in 1999, right after Christmas, right before Y2K.
Wow.
He was one of 6 New Yorkers who was over 90 years old, and they're talking about this life. So this article, again, was where you see where it starts. I used to go to the Savoy Ballroom up on Lenox Ave in Harlem and dance with the ladies.
That's crazy. Yo, it's so crazy. And I'm going to tell you, it's so crazy, right? So people always ask me about, like, entertainment, how you get into, entertain. Most people know, like, the whole, the rapping stuff, right? But when I was a kid, my sister Brenda, we used to go see bands.
Oh wow!
So Brass Construction, like all the bands that played, even at the Central Park Band Show, we used to go see bands. I was
That's
the
dope.
little kid that would inch my way all the way up to the front, and by the end of the show, I'd be on stage.
Wow.
I love it.
Wow.
Yep.
So what were you doing in 1999? Can you
99,
do you haphazardly remember
let me see,
99? What were you into?
I think 99, let me see, I stopped working for MCA in 95. Had I moved by 99? No, I hadn't moved out of New York by 99. So I think I might have been working for Keto Entertainment, possibly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were in entertainment and
Yeah.
your grandfather was in the newspaper
Yeah,
being
that's
interviewed
crazy.
about his life.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yo. That's crazy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't wait to. You're gonna dive in. There's so much just in this article alone. He talks about not only growing up in New York, but he talks about growing up in Panama. He talks about being the U.S. merchants.
Talked about building and what they were doing to the Panama Canal at that time and how he felt about it. He wasn't really happy about they were turning it over.
Sound like me.
Yeah.
He even, and what I didn't get my hands on yet, he said that he's in even in this article, he said that he was in a 1951 Life magazine issue that shows him and him and his crew on the deck of ocean liner Independence. So we're, I'm gonna pull that out. I don't leave no stone unturned.
Right.
Ever.
So yeah, I thought this would be a nice treasure for you.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, this was the family. So this is Doris Forbes. This was William's first wife.
Mm-hmm.
And this is their daughter together, Dolores.
Okay.
So this obviously he was in the Navy and they had this photo taken. This is Norma,
she wasn't playing. You see that dress? That coat?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That hat, though.
Come on, Norma.
And to me, I'm assuming, this could be Brooklyn, this could be Harlem, but
it's New York. We know it's New York.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, they were married until she passed away. Like I said, I think it was 90. I had 91 and 92, but that's when he came back to New York. And this is actually son Juan, who just recently passed away. Those are George's brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads us
Auntie and
into
Uncle.
That's George.
That's me. That's me.
Yes. I see the resemblance.
Yeah, that's me. That's definitely me.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So once again, born and raised in Panama, George joins his family around 1940. So it seems as though he may have stayed in Panama at least till his teen years, or early teen years. He joined the U.S. Navy in 1942, served in World War II. In 1950, he's actually listed as living with his father, stepmother, so the folks you just saw in the last picture.
Right.
He was working as a shipping clerk at a ribbon factory in 1950. And so this document here, you'll see, his date of birth, November 24th, 1926. He was actually living, when he filled out this document, in 1953 at 541 Lafayette Ave in Brooklyn. And there's his signature right at the bottom.
Yeah, very similar.
I'm blown away by these pictures.
Right.
Yeah.
How much I look alike.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, it's
That
crazy.
literally, it's like you could, if anything else, you'd be
Yeah,
like, is
it's
that
crazy.
my doppelganger?
Yeah, that's
You
crazy.
guys are twins.
Yeah, that's
Well,
crazy.
so now we know why that little boy came
Yeah,
up to him.
because he
Like,
just said,
Yeah.
you look just like this man.
Yeah.
This man.
Yeah.
And you'll see, so the left pic, and he didn't go nowhere without his pipe. He said, "Oh, y'all
Right.
take a picture with my pipe."
Yeah. Let
That's
me get
him.
my pipe.
That's him when he served, when he was in Korea in 1952. The middle picture, there's not a date alongside with it, but this is where I kind of stop the story and look for you to fill in the blanks. But as you did at the beginning, as
Right.
you told us, there was limited knowledge. So I know we put a lot on your plate
Right.
in a short amount of time, but just how does it feel? What are you thinking? What's running through your mind?
I think
Would love to hear.
I think the first sentiment is pride. Right? And I don't mean the pride that's in the Bible that comes before a fall. That's not what I'm talking about. But
For sure.
I think the first sense is pride because I got that bougie shit in me, right? And I really didn't know where it came from.
Where it came
You know what I'm saying?
Now you know.
And so, it's like I know my mama had it because I grew up with my mama having chinchilla coats and all that. You know what I mean? So I know she had it. But remember, prior to this conversation I'm having with y'all, my only experience is maternal.
Right.
All of
Right.
it.
Right.
So when I talk about growing up, I only talk about her.
Right.
When I talk about family, I only talk about her family.
Right.
Right? I've never spoken about my dad's family. I've never said anything about them because I had no information. I didn't know anything about Jamaican and Trinidadian roots, right? Because I always thought, well, if he's from Panama, then probably everybody from Panama. You understand what I'm trying to say? I didn't know that it was like a trip that took them to Panama and they built in the canal and all that. So in my head, I'm like, oh, well, my family's Panamanian. I just don't know my Panamanian family,
Sure.
which we
Sure.
really not Panamanian. We came through
Jamaican.
Panama,
You
and I
came,
guess my
spent some
father
time
could
there.
really claim Panama the same way my son claims
Sure.
Harlem because he was born in Harlem.
There's
You
the
know what I'm
born,
saying?
right?
So he
Yeah.
claims
True.
Harlem because he was born in Harlem. So I get that part. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
knew anything about that, and some of it, at least just looking at, like, it's a few things I love. So
Mm-hmm.
although I never entered the military, I got like a crazy love for the military. Like
Wow.
crazy, crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially, no disrespect to any other countries, but especially American soldiers,
Mm-hmm.
because I know what they do
Mm-hmm.
for us. I know what they protect. I
Right.
know all of those particular things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that, and so I guess my love for the military is validated.
Mm-hmm.
Since I was
Mm-hmm.
little, I was 14 years old going to get tailor-made pants.
See?
I had
It
tailor-made
was
pants.
embedded in your
Yeah,
DNA.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like and that's part of me. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's really more pride. A lot of it is amazement.
Sure.
I still gotta like intake it, but I'm
Sure.
definitely gonna be like tomorrow morning when I put on my suit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a different
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
pride, and it's like you can hand all of this stuff down to your children,
Yes.
your grandchildren. Like, listen, look at the things
Yeah.
that I've learned. This is about us.
Yeah,
This is where we come from. This is
Yeah.
our lineage.
Yeah.
So be proud, and you have a culture that you can adapt to. It's something that me and Nat constantly talk about is like with us being able to delve into the ancestral genealogical journey. It's
Yeah.
like we have an identity. It's
Yeah.
like, certain cultures that have fell by the
Right.
wayside that we were not familiar with.
Correct.
We can now celebrate with it, and we celebrate with pride.
correct.
Because
yeah.
we
Correct.
know who we are.
It's like what Nat was saying earlier about like some of the killings and all of that kind of stuff. Like
Mhm.
because they don't have that kind of connection,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? It's
Mhm.
like because I don't know. I mean, they might think that their ancestors was bums or something. You know what I'm saying? You never know what they really thinking about, but
Mhm.
not knowing is it's a tough situation. Like I said, my whole life I grew up with my lineage, just talking about my lineage.
Half.
All I
Just
talked
half.
about was just
Right.
maternal.
Right.
My mother's side, that's a whole nother.
Oh, that's part 2.
Yeah, that's a whole.
Part 2.
Yeah, that's part 2.
Yeah.
That's a whole.
Chicago.
Yeah, that's. And so I know where I get that from.
Sure.
You know what I'm
But
saying?
one thing
Like,
you can say from your father's side is they were ambitious because
Oh,
as
yeah.
you see the household with all of the men in
Oh,
the
yeah.
households,
oh yeah,
they became prominent within society.
Oh,
They
yeah.
were in the military.
Oh, yeah.
They were cooks with starting with the Panama Canal. Like you had him, he was in show. Like it's a lot.
yeah,
And they moved around. They traveled a lot,
Yeah.
which was not common.
right.
Oh, no. They
Back
were well
then.
traveled.
Which is crazy because
Right.
that's my life.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Touring,
like,
traveling.
yeah,
That's-
and I was taught since I was, how old was I? 15. My uncle told me the best form of education is travel when I was 15.
Absolutely.
Because he was like,
Absolutely.
yo, you could read it in a book, you could see it on TV, but if you never been there, I understood that in the beginning nationally, but once I took
Sure.
a trip overseas, I was like, you ain't never lied. Like I get it, and even my love for travel, that's all I can say. I think it's in the DNA.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely
clearly.
embedded.
Because me not
There was
knowing
no
none of this
settling.
and living like that, and then seeing them, you know what I'm saying? Even the ambition, all of that. Like
Sure.
I'm always trying to build some shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
And
so,
never
Yeah.
settling.
yeah, never settling.
It's
Right?
just if you look at some of the documents that I'm going to obviously share with you through the report. I mean, we're talking about France, Korea, Africa, Brazil.
Yeah.
They were well traveled, but we're not talking about the 1980s, the 70s. We're talking about
the
1890s,
Right.
the 1910s.
Yes.
Right.
These people were traveling by ship, working on ships. The amount of travel, but also if we're going to be real here, to think about what these men had to endure
Right.
through their life, but to go fight for the country willingly and to pass it down from one generation to the next, there was a sense of, we go back to the word today, pride, that is unmatched. When you read the article about your grandfather, it's pretty funny. He said that he was shot at by his own peoples because they thought he was Japanese. They said, we didn't know because his skin tone and his hair, they weren't sure he was Japanese. So it's really, there's faces to put with the names and occupations and life story, the whole history here.
And I don't like to get racial all the time, but it's interesting what you're doing for us, because a lot of white people have that naturally.
It's easily accessible.
Yeah, just kind of based on their family, they could just go grab a whole bunch of photo books and say, blah, 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 blah. And so you see why some of them might have a tradition of Harvard graduates or whatever.
Yes.
Because when you see, like when I show this to my daughter, my 13-year-old, she gonna get it.
Wow.
Because she got all of that. She got all the snoop. She got all of that. Naturally.
And then when she takes that back to do a research in school, like a history class, this is going to blow her professor's mind.
Exactly. It's true. So I get it. Like it's important because we don't get I really thank you guys, because we don't get an opportunity through whatever else people be telling us to be proud.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I even though I'm not an anti-slavery movie guy, but I get why some of my friends are.
For sure.
Like, I got a couple of friends that's just like, yo, D, man, like, that story been told too many times. And now,
it's tiring.
Now that you guys telling me this, now I'm going to have to agree with them.
It's tiring because it's like there are other stories, but we've been conditioned to believe that this is where we came from, and it's like
and
what happened before slavery,
and that's it.
What else happened?
That's it.
Nobody, and that's
like,
it.
Like so you showing me stuff that goes back to the 1800s. That's a while ago.
Right, in the time that they're telling us that this wasn't, these opportunities weren't afforded us.
Yeah, you had family members who left Jamaica, who left the islands to come to the U.S. Before slavery, or right after slavery. They had these opportunities, and not every black person in the U.S. came, by way of by slavery.
Right.
So there were people here. The natives looked like us.
Yes.
There was a lot of natives that looked just like the three of us on this call. So there's a lot of education that we need to educate ourselves, because there's a lot of information, is what I should say, that's out there that they're not going to spoon feed. It's not going to be in the books. You've got to find it. And it's so funny how close these resources are. I'm in the DC area. I go to DC to the archives building. You would be amazed on how many documentations. I went and saw my third great grandfather's doctor's visits record when he was in the Civil War. He was in the U.S. colored troops, and he had his finger blown off. And I have his records from when he went to see the physician. And they're right at my fingertips. I would have never known that these things exist, and there's so much more.
It's just, this is the plight, one of the plights of Jeans and Gems, to get this out there, to have you, if this is not the catalyst, or this is not the area where you guys feel like we're unattainable, these things are accessible to you. It's just that no one's going to tell you, but we're telling you.
It's like I told Nat, I think it was last week, whatever I could do to help you guys promote it, because here's where I think the key is, when you use us, meaning, I don't really like using the word celebrity, but whatever. When you use us,
what you are.
But when you use us, it makes it a little more interesting for people. And for me to now promote that, feeling better and knowing more and all of those particular things, I think it's important, because a lot of people, it's so many people. When I'm thinking now, it's gotta be so many people that just don't know their roots.
They just don't know.
And so their roots become Kunta Kinte.
Yes. Right. What they show you on TV.
No pun or pun intended.
Yeah, it is pun intended.
It's the continuation of conditioning.
Yeah, it's true. Yep.
Yeah.
You're right.
And I think that one thing that was like really stood out for me with your family that kind of really touched me was the fact that we're trained to believe, because even when you go to the museums, we all came here. If you heard a ship, that we came here on a
Right.
ship, we came here on a slave ship.
One ship.
But we have a picture
Right.
of the ship that your
Exactly.
family came
And it
on
wasn't a slave
and
ship.
what they were wearing.
Right.
Right. So it's like, but any other family, any other person that, we may come in contact with, like, yeah, your family came on a ship. I don't want to hear about us coming on a
Right.
slave ship. Who said it was a slave ship?
Exactly.
Right.
Well,
Changing the narrative.
Exactly.
Yep.
Thank you so much
Oh,
for
thank you.
giving us this
We really
opportunity.
appreciate. We
Thank
really
you.
do appreciate this.
And glad that you've had this response and that it is meaningful to you and is impactful. I'm can't wait to hear how some of your conversations went,
Right.
and I can't wait. When I start, I'm gonna have some more for you.
Oh yeah, and I got some, and I got some stuff to follow through for you on my mom's side.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to have part 2 then.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty dope.
Absolutely.
So, can you talk to us a little bit about what you have going on right now?
Finishing the Stet album.
Nice.
Really trying to get this done before the end of the year, but I know I'm in December already.
December is weird.
But I'm really trying to finish that. And then I started this journey 11 years ago to do a part 2 to Self-Destruction.
Talk about
I had a conversation with Chris a long time ago. He was like, Daddy-O, go ahead. It's like he passed me the ball. He said, Daddy-O, go ahead and do it. It took me a while to kind of get my head wrapped around how I want to do it. I tell people all the time, the sad part about it is these mayors need help.
Sure.
Right.
Yes.
So we by Monday, watch the numbers for Chicago and New York. It's still gonna be crazy.
Sad.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it's
sad.
like we want to try to involve the young people to because we know that music has an impact on people.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So
1000%.
we want to pull together a film project with it. We want to do one of the ideas that I have is going around the country and doing these roundtables. I want to sit gang members across with grandmothers.
Like, should we do like the lip sync and do Self-Destruction?
Yes.
Maybe not.
Nah, it'd be
You
dope.
think you'd
It'd
be
be
okay
dope
with it?
though.
Right.
It would be dope.
You could do a crime and get paid today, and tomorrow you're behind bars in the worst way, far from your family, because you're locked away. Now, tell me,
she know the whole thing.
See, I know.
Wait, what did I say? Well, today's topic is self-destruction.
Hey.
It really ain't the right audience that's bugging. It's one or two brothers, ignorant
suckers. See, that's
trying to
my job.
rob and steal from one another. You get caught in the mid. So to crush that stereotype, here's what we did.
Yeah.
We got ourselves in check. So
that you could unite and fight for what's right. Yes.
Not what's wrong. Don't get us started.
Yes,
Don't
yes.
get us
That's
started.
what's up. That's what's up.
Brush it up.
I
That's
really,
our joy.
I appreciate y'all. I really appreciate y'all.
Well,
Yeah,
same.
We
We
definitely
thank you.
appreciate you and everything that you contributed to hip hop.
Thank you.
Definitely a pioneer. So we really thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
for being a
and-
part of this.
Yeah.
And it's recorded. There will be a part 2. So thank you
Okay.
for today. But get ready for part 2
Yes.
and 3 in the future. But yes, thank you
Yeah.
for all of your time
You're welcome.
and this wonderful celebration of family. So
Peace.
Again, you guys, make sure you click and subscribe, Jeans and Gems, and make sure you go follow Daddy-O, and also please subscribe and check into his video. It's really something that you
Very
guys really should be
powerful.
into. It's very powerful.
awesome. All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace.